All right, now I got sound. Perfect, 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 perfect. So I'm going to start from the very beginning now. Oh my goodness. So starting from the very beginning. All right. Recently, Fox6News.com, Fox 6, which is a local news organization in my city, Milwaukee, they reported that two teens were on the run. They also found out that they were involved in the fatal shooting of Purcell Pearson. Can you believe that? You can go and find the entire article by heading over to fox6now.com and just doing a simple search. Two teens on the run, charged in fatal shooting. And that article will pull it up. It was published February 22nd. But this news is very troubling. As I was saying earlier, this news is troubling, especially for the minority community, because these two teens were, first of all, they were minorities, but it happened in broad daylight and not that far from where I live. It happened not that far from where I live. And then they shot a 22-year-old Purcell Pearson in broad daylight. This is troubling because we want to know what's going on with our kids. What's really going on? What's more troubling is that they're on the run and they're still out there somewhere. Could kill again. Or they can do something even more terrible, such as killing themselves. I mean, well, it's equally terrible to kill somebody else, but to shorten their own young lives. So they're still on the run. They haven't been caught yet, but they've been charged, and their lives are going to be cut short. Rather they do it themselves or rather they get caught. The good news is, though, you didn't know it was good news, though. So there actually is some good news. So here's the good news. The good news is you can do something about this. You can actually do something about this right now. Okay? I mean, you might say, okay, the quite obvious good thing I could do as a citizen, as an adult person, is when I see them, report them. Make sure I get them off the street. Well, yeah, quite obvious. But the other good news is that, yeah, if you do see them, you might want to do that. But maybe you might be the one who can, like, maybe drop a seed and, carefully walk away if you happen to bump into them and they don't do anything to you. Maybe drop a seed, a positive seed of wisdom into these troubled young youth, and then walk away fast. But the other good news is that if you have children, if you are a parent, just like me, I have an 11-year-old that's going to be 12. If you have children, you can be involved in your child's life right now and stop them from becoming examples like this example. They can become the next Tyrell Joseph and Ishmael Morano, the two 17-year-olds involved in this shooting that fatally shot a 22-year-old man in broad daylight, not that far away from where I live. Can you believe that? You can help your child, or you can start helping and be a part of the lives of children in your family, youth in your family, and start looking at the intricacies of what the issue is, because, like, this is the issue. We don't know what the issue is, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So I'm going to give you some real clear stats borrowed from CDC and from the World Health Organization and from the Department of Justice about exactly what the hell is going on with our youth and why we're seeing a spike in violence, why we're seeing a spike in many other categories that is not being reported. Okay, so all we see is these crazy reports that get dropped in our lap. The bomb gets dropped on us out of nowhere, and then we wonder, like, man, is Generation Z going crazy? Are these kids just like flying off the handle or something? Where the hell did we go wrong? And not even knowing or conscious that the kid next door or the very kid in your own household who haven't reached that age of 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 yet may be that next one to pull a trigger or get involved in something crazy. And what are you going to do? You're going to be left defenseless. What if you are a 22-year-old Purcell person that gets fatally shot in broad daylight? We don't want that to happen. So let's go into some stats. Let's talk about what exactly is oppression, specifically our minority children, our Black and brown children. Because, people might say, okay, well, what about children around the world? Okay, it can't just be Black and brown kids that's doing these heinous stuff. And woe behold, you're on the right track here. Okay, because like I got the World Health Organization stats pulled up, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give it to you, I'm going to lay it to you flat. I'm going to let you know what the hell is really going on. So let's start with that. Let's start with what's going on globally. Okay, because this is an epidemic. It's an epidemic within a pandemic that's actually happening. So globally, it was reported, and you can go to who.int to look this up, that 84% of youth homicide victims were males, and most perpetrators were males too, unfortunately. 200,000 homicides occurred among youth 10 to 29 years old. This happens each year. It's the fourth leading cause of death for people in this age group. 10 through 29 people, 10 through 29, ages 10 through 29. I have an 11-year-old son. That means last year he could have been involved in a homicide. That means this year, all the way up until the age of 29, he can still be involved in a homicide. I got another 10-year-old. I got an 11-year-old that's about to be 12, and I got a 10-year-old right now that just turned 10 this year. And at any time, they can be involved in a homicide. This is a worldwide problem. This is the scope of the problem. And the underlying problem is that the range of acts from bullying and physical fighting to more severe issues like sexual and physical assault are also on that list. But the fourth leading cause of death is homicide. Homicide rates are, of course, they say they vary between and within countries, but 84% are males around the globe. Don't even make it to see 30. What is the issue? And they say that it's greater in high income countries, of course, and than it is in low and middle income countries. So the most richest country, one of the most richest country on earth, United States, of course, and China, it's on that list too. So, and if they don't get killed by the violence, they are sustaining injuries that require hospital treatment or something that is so fatal that leaves them unable to live a regular life. And then 1 in 8 young people are also exposed to sexual abuse. Physical fighting and bullying are common. They said this is a common thing nowadays. 42% of boys, 37% of girls were exposed to bullying. And this is around the world. We're not even talking about the US yet. What is the problem? So it's a global burden, okay, people? You out there, my friend, leading to premature death, injury, and disability. And when we talk about disability, we're not just talking about stuff you can see. We're talking about stuff in the head, psychological, social functioning. And if you cannot function as a person, psychological and socially, as you age and get to an adult age, your productivity drops, the value you give out into the world drops, or it becomes tougher for you to get value. You got to find a way to get out of it. And as youth violence continue to increase, so does the cause of health, welfare, and criminal justice services. So they building a lot of baby jails nowadays and trying to find ways to relocate them and all that good stuff. Man, if you don't think this is a problem, something wrong with you. If you clicking off of this, if you're not sharing this with somebody, if you're not taking this serious, something wrong with you. I'm sorry. Because like little Ray and Dejan and little Pookie, when they end up like sticking you up or sticking up your one of your kids, don't come crying talking about some, oh, what's going on? Why me? It's out there. There, you know, that our taxes is going not only to the problem here, but around the world. It's a world problem. But let's switch gears and talk about what the Department of Justice found out and what the CDC found out. So every year, right, there's these crazy tests. And I remember taking this test. I mean, we used to take these tests in high school all the time. And I think they started these I can't remember when they started these tests. Yeah, they actually started these tests when I was in my last year of high school. They call them the high school YRBS tests. These tests are the YRBS test stands for Youth Risk Behavior Survey. So that's what that stands for. So this test goes around across the United States. And what I love about this test is at the time when I was taking it, I didn't know they was collecting data. Like I didn't know they was going to actually put it on a website and it was going to be useful, you know, to even to me one day. So this thing is very useful. So the Youth Risk Behavior Survey gives us a clear indicator as to what the hell's going on with our youth. So if you really want to know what's going on, specifically with your youth, no matter what race, you can break it down by races and look at it. You can break it down by age groups, by the grade level. You can even break it. They even got it by sexual orientation now. You can put different filters on this thing. You can look at unintentional injuries and violence, tobacco use, alcohol and other drug use, sexual behaviors, dietary behaviors, physical activity, obesity, overweight, and weight control, and many other health topics. So they call them health topics. So that's what they are. So what we're going to look at tonight, though, we're going to look at some of the real disturbing risk behavior that your teenager, our teenagers in the United States reported when they took these tests. So Of course, they don't put their name on this test, so it's supposed to be a confidential test, and they are required to answer these tests honestly, and most times they do. I know I answered it honestly. I remember walking out of the classroom when I was in high school in 2004, my senior year, when this thing first rolled out, and people were talking about like, man, I just went on ahead and told the truth on it. Hey, like, since my name ain't gonna be on it, so I, thinking back to how I was as a youth, I and knowing like how the climate has really changed and really is really encouraging of these youth really speaking their mind, and like now they really don't care now. They don't care what they do, who knows what they do. I'm going to really take an educated guess that these numbers are highly correct. Okay, so let's get into it. One, what's really disturbing to me is the seatbelt one. Okay, they ride in cars, so we got about, and I'm looking at the whole entire United States. I'm not just filtering out my city or anything like that. So when you look at the seatbelt, rarely, there's a question on there that says rarely or never wore a seatbelt when riding in a car driven by somebody else. 11.6% of them still do not ride, still ride without a seatbelt. So when you hear about teens dying in car accidents, that's why. You still got a lot of teenagers that do not even wear a seatbelt when they are riding in a car. And the males were kind of tilted the scale on that one. 12.2% of the population of males, male teenagers, are more likely to not wear a seatbelt than their female counterparts. This is crazy. Rode with a driver who had been drinking alcohol in a car or other vehicle one or more times during the 30 days before the survey. So 15.9%, and the male counterparts again answered this more increasingly, more frequently as doing it than their female counterparts at 17.4%, females at 13.8% of the population. But when it comes to driving when drinking alcohol, they reported very low. So nobody drinks and drives, which is good. That's real good, but texting, how many they're texting and driving or emailing while driving the car? So those numbers are strikingly high, strikingly dangerously high, where you got 29.5% of the teenage population that does it. So if you want to know why car accidents are happening, because they're texting and driving or riding with a driver who's drinking alcohol or not, and they're dying because they're not wearing a seatbelt. So when it comes to weapons, okay, this was really disturbing. So carrying a weapon like a gun, knife, or club on at least one day. So we're not talking about every day. Have you done it at least a day during the past 30 days before the survey? And 13.0% of the male teenage population does this, ladies and gentlemen. In comparison to 5.3% of females, which is still pretty interesting because like when you think about it, and this includes gun, knife, club, anything that can be used as a weapon. So, you will imagine that, the females probably are carrying, things for self-defense, maybe pepper spray or a knife or some sort. When it comes to carrying on school property, the males do it a lot more than the females at 5.4. Carrying a gun. So just gun alone. Males 11.7%, females 1.9% of the population were threatened or injured with a weapon on a school property. So when you think that your kids are safe at school, no, they're not. Especially the males. 10.2% of the male teenage population, again, we're talking about African American males, are not safe when it comes to being on school property because they've been either threatened or injured with a weapon. So we're not even talking about even killed. We're talking about they either been shot at, stabbed, clubbed, pepper sprayed, or something. So now here's where we start getting into the root of the problem a little bit more. So looking at the root of the problem a little bit more, we look at fighting and bullying. So this is where we really want to know what's going on with fighting and bullying. Why is this happening, and how often is this happening? And is this like something that's like really common in the community, or is this just it just happened on rare occurrences when they record it on video and then put it on their Instagram page or something, So, but 36.9% of the male teenage population in the African American community reported that they were in a physical fight one or more times. Okay, one or more times. And 22.7% of females were in a physical fight. And when we talk about on school property, 18.8% of the male teenage population and 11.7%. Now, looking at bullying, this is reverse, people. So when it comes to electronically being bullied and being bullied on school property, the females are doing it a lot more. So it makes you wonder, like, if the boys are fighting more, but the females are doing the bullying, would it be fair to say that like some of these fights are maybe kind of instigated like by like some of the drama that's originally started by some of the females, or the females, like sometimes they don't get to the point of the fight, or they or they do, or the fight doesn't happen because it stays on Facebook, and it becomes like a bullying situation. Or like the boys are continuing to like fight, try to prove themselves to the females. So this is really concerned here. This is where we kind of start like peeling back the layers a little bit and start seeing like, okay, if this electronic bullying through texting, Instagram, Facebook, and other social media is a less occurrence, for the males and real high occurrence for the females, maybe we need to start having talks with our female teenagers about what they're saying, what they're posting on Facebook a little bit more and on social media. Don't we say this all the time, but like we don't never do it? We like why is it that like Twitter, Facebook, and all these platforms are like coming down so hard on adults, and about many different things, censoring the hell out of us, but they're not doing anything about bullying. Okay, like these bullying messages are still being penetrated through real heavily in our community. And then it's like triggering something, within like the male teenage psyches, because they see the drama that the females got going on, and then they act out the drama more than the females do. They actually act out the drama and do it. So like, and then it escalates more into carrying a gun, or threatening someone with a gun because somebody said, or because it was a fight and somebody lost the fight, and maybe maybe the bullying continued because like the female saw, this is all like me just creating a scenario here and maybe speculating a little bit as well, but this is just my hypothesis. My hypothesis. But when we talk about things concerning their dating life, physically forced to have sexual intercourse, females 9.9%, female teenagers in the Black community are being forced to have sexual intercourse when they don't want to. Only 4.8% of male teenagers are being forced, which is still kind of awkward in a sense that this is like even a report, and that this is even happening. Experience sexual violence by anyone. 14.4% of our girls have experienced sexual violence more than once, and 6.8% of our boys, same thing. Sexual dating violence, 8.2% of our girls, 4.3%. So again, when we talk about why we're creating more domestic violence victims, and why we create more domestic violence offenders, it starts here. Nobody does nothing about it. It gets ignored. We see these numbers are here. Nobody says any doggone thing. It goes like right out the door. Like it doesn't get nipped in the bud. And before you know it, we got a bunch of rapists. We got a bunch of wife beaters or baby mama beaters, running around, and it's just no good. Okay, so but here's the most disturbing of them all. So remember, we were talking about bullying, right? Electronic bullying. Why electronic bullying is happening? It may be due to the fact that like 41.2% of your female teenagers are sad or hopeless. They are depressed as hell. They have some type of mental illness that's going unreported, going unnoticed, under the radar. And 22.3% of your male Black teenagers are sad and hopeless too. They're all sad. They all feel sad. They all depressed. And this question was simply stated on the survey as like feel sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 or more weeks in a row, so that they stop doing some unusual activities. So if they stop like healthy activities, more than likely they're going to result into risky or bad activities, unhealthy activities. You got almost half of the female population, female black teenage population at that. You got your girls that are sad and hopeless all the damn time. And nobody's doing anything about it. They're sad. That's what's wrong with them. And then you got 22.3% of the boy population who's sad almost every day for 2 or more weeks in a row. This is mental health. There's a mental health problem in the black community, obviously. And then when we look at suicide, and suicide is on here too, seriously considered attempting suicide during the 12 months before the survey, 23.7% of girls. And I happen to know a teenager that took her own life. Very sad, very sad situation. And nobody did anything to intervene or interject in this, because like nobody could pick up on the point that like girls like her, and maybe your girl, maybe you're a teenage girl, maybe some teenage girl is sad every day. Do we look at what they're posting? Like, yeah, maybe look like they're having fun, or like, but like usually underneath all of that craziness, there's usually some amount of misery. You don't know what they're going through. They're sad, and even worse now. Just imagine this was before COVID. This is pre-COVID. Okay, so imagine what this 41.2% and then this 23.7% of considering attempted suicide has risen. And then the question, the follow-up question is like, have you made a plan to attempt suicide? You got 20.4% of black girls who made a plan. And then 15.2% that actually attempted one or more times. That actually attempted 15.2%. My goodness. This is across the United States. We're not talking about in one city. Across the United States. This could be like even in like one of the most richest, cities like Buckhead, Georgia. It could be Brookville, Wisconsin, and we talk, and a black youth answer this question. Like, you don't know. You don't know. This is crazy. And for us to just blame them for how they're acting when we got the numbers right here in front of us to back up like why they're acting out, why they're resulting in unhealthy behavior, it's wrong for us. We have to transform the way we look at how things are occurring in our community. We got to start asking them how they what's really wrong. Like, they need mental health. They need mental health intervention. Why? Because obviously their parents need mental health intervention too, which we're going to get into that in a second too. We're going to get on the parents in a second too. So we're going to touch on like a few more stats, and then we're going to talk about the parents. Okay, because there's some issues with parents, parents. Yeah, we gotta talk about the parents just a little bit. Okay, so cigarettes, cigarettes 14.2 that's not really an issue, but vapes, they're vaping at 40%. They're using vapes. When we did not try to quit using all tobacco, so they 66.2% have used before, and they haven't tried to quit. So they are using tobacco products. This includes cigars, cigarettes, hookahs, vapes, you name it. They're doing it, and they refuse to quit. 66.2% of them say they're not going to quit. They refuse to. because that's their outlet. So like, I mean, if you fucking, excuse my language, if you're freaking sad all the time, if you feel hopeless, if you thinking about taking your life, you need to, yeah, give me a pack of cigs. You know, since nobody want to take me to therapy, you know, like, oh God, these kids gonna need tobacco patches, all type of stuff. The nicotine gum. You know, somebody give these kids something. You know, like Jesus Christ. Here's another number. Alcohol. Let's talk about alcohol. So 17.4% of them had alcohol before they were even 13 years old. Oh my goodness. So remember we were talking about like that 10 to 29? So 10 to 29, like, you know, you got homicides, 200,000 homicides around the world, you know, among teenagers. And then you look at this number where like before the age of 13, they have an alcohol. Other than a few sips, yeah, that kind of makes sense. That kind of line up with what's you know, with that too. You got 38.2%, and here's something crazy. So 40% of females obtain alcohol they drank because someone gave it to them. So you got these young female teenagers turning up, you know, they drinking because someone of age has given them alcohol. And when you look at the males, you got no males. You got less than 1% of males that reported that someone gave them alcohol to drink. They were able to somehow get it on their own, which is, they probably stole it out of their parents' refrigerator or something, or, you know, somehow, but no one gave it to them. But these females are being given alcohol by somebody, by an adult. So that, now I have seen videos where you got teenage females turning up, drinking with their mom. It's like, what the hell is this all about? Like, what type of stuff is this? So like, we gotta do better. We gotta do better. And obviously, if they start drinking, they become a little bit more dependent on it. If they're sad, it's making them more sad because you know, alcohol is a depressant. So they become dependent on the alcohol, and then become even more sad. You know, because remember, we got 41% of our female teenagers are sad as hell and attempting suicide, and then we got 40% that drank alcohol. So that same number of females that are sad and dealing with a real extreme case of mental health are drinking alcohol. And get this, here's the kicker. Now let's talk about marijuana. Let's talk about weed. Let's talk about a little weed, a little bit of cannabis. 40% of them same females are using marijuana too. They are marijuana users. And then 34.5% of males are also doing it. So they're drinking, they're smoking, Jesus Christ, and they're being forced to have sex by their partners. And they're planning to take their lives out. This is an issue. This is a problem. And for me to bring this to light tonight, I really hope we start looking at our teens a little bit more differently now. So when it comes to other drugs, not really high on these other drugs. These numbers are very low. That's pretty good. But when asked if they ever sold or given to sell drugs illegally on school property, 21.5% of the population of Black teens have done it or was offered to and thought about it. That's crazy. And you gotta ask yourself, like, well, who the hell is offering you to do this? Who the hell is telling you to go out and sell drugs? Wow. Now, when it comes to sexual intercourse with 4 or more people, 13.3% reported that they have sex with 4 or more people. 13.3% of the population. This is the population. Now, you might hear 13.3% and you say, "Oh, that's a huge number." We're talking about the entire country of the United States of America. Get this. Did not use a condom during the last sexual intercourse. 55.5% of Black female teenagers did not use a condom. 48.2% males did not either. Did not use birth control. 87.1% of the teenage population, that's almost all of them, folks, did not use birth control pills during the last sexual intercourse. They didn't use anything to, when it comes to using anything at all, both a condom and birth control or any type of birth control at all, 92.4% of the teenage population. So there we go. Drugs. Okay, so we got the weed, we got the alcohol, and we got the sex now. All your risky behaviors. 92.4%. And we wonder why. Because they're sad. They're hopeless. Every day for 2 weeks or more, they're planning to kill themselves. Nobody's addressing this. Okay? If you know somebody who's addressing this, please tag them in this. Please send this recording to them so I can interview them. If you know somebody who's attacking the mental health problem that Black teens are having. Here's another very, very bad problem. We're not tested for sexual transmitted disease or HIV. 87.7%. So you got a bunch of kids walking around here that don't even know if they got a sexually transmitted disease or not. So you think that COVID-19 is the issue. You got kids out here that might have HIV or STDs right now and don't even know it. That can be a whole nother global pandemic right there in itself. That could be a pandemic within the Black community in itself, because once they turn, of age, that makes them legal to sleep with, adults that are older. Who's going to stop them at that point? And then once they contract these diseases, once the adult population attract these diseases from these kids that are turning, into these adult ages, you're talking about a pandemic of STDs and HIV, a new pandemic of STDs and HIV going around. This is terrible. This is usually where it comes from. Like when college kids get together, they spread them around, and then it goes undetected. Whew. Oh man. Oh Jesus Christ. Okay, somebody said they want one more. Somebody said they want one more. Okay, let me give them one. Let me give you. I'll give you one more stat before I get to the parents. Somebody said, "Give me one more stat." Okay, all right. For you, I'll give you one more stat. My friend over there on Nemo TV. Okay, one more stat for you. And then I gotta get on the parents though, and then I gotta close this thing on out. So this one is very concerning, is the fact that they're not physically active at least 60 days per day on all 7 days. If you're dealing with mental health, of course, you're going to need some type of activity to increase your heart rate and make you breathe some of the time. You need at least you need at least 60 minutes per day of some type of physical activity. It doesn't have to be nothing strenuous, but like especially when you're a teenager, you gotta it's recommended that teens get about 60 minutes per day of some type of physical activity. And like, I mean, it's probably even worse now that COVID has hit, but 87.4% of Black teenage females are not getting any activity at all. And 70.9% of Black male teenagers are not getting any activity. So you want to know why we have an obesity problem in the Black community? This is why. Because they're sad and they're involved in risky behavior and they're not active. They're not active at all on any day of the week. All right. So let's get ready to close this thing on out, man. Because at this point, oh man, I'm just very disappointed here. It's very disturbing that we have this issue. So we know what the risk factors are. We know what they're doing because they're telling us what they're doing. They're asking for help and we're not even giving them help. What we need to be doing, we need more therapeutic approaches for youth that are at risk, at high risk of being involved in violence. We need to reduce their access to alcohol. We need interventions for the harmful use of drugs. So these interventions got to happen, folks. You got to swarm them and let them know. We need community and problem-oriented policy. Okay, so something that's geared around community, something that's problem-oriented. We got to have interventions to reduce concentrated poverty and upgrade our urban environments. Okay, so there's none of that going on. So like we need to be telling those people we putting down there in City Hall, them people we putting in those state legislator seats, that hey, look, if you're not going to make the agenda about reducing poverty in the urban area, for specifically for our youth, like forget about us. Okay, let's stop being selfish as adults. Okay, let's start focusing on us as adults for a change, because like it's always about us. Okay, it's always about our selfish desires and wants and needs. Let's talk about creating some life skill programs, some social programs designed specifically to help children with their damn anger, with resolution conflict, with like teaching them social skills, with teaching the damn parents some social skills. And the whole school need to approach violence in a different way, and even like programs to support parents, to teach them some positive parenting skills. Okay, because yeah, they don't have it all. I know I don't have all the tools sometimes readily at hand, but parents in these programs need to not be in a way where they shame you or make you feel like you have to like get on some type of government assistance or some sort just to do it, or you got to be a single mother. It should be more family oriented. It should be more family geared. And we need to start at the early ages before they get even to high school, so that like these programs that's geared towards academics and social skills are already put in place, so that like we don't have what we're having now. We don't have our kids like drugged out on somebody's bed on their black back, having risky sex, smoking marijuana, feeling sad 2 weeks or long or more every single day, and not telling anybody that they're sad because they're scared to express themselves because in our community is frowned upon, or like you get joked at for like, for saying that, like, like, man, I really don't feel good, and and like, or like, for the females especially, like, oh, she got a bad attitude, like, but really she got a bad attitude, or she because she's sad, so like she needs a rock, maybe daddy's not in the house, we need to address these things, okay? So yeah, let's take this more serious. That's me on my soapbox, as people like to call it, tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, I don't care. Oh yeah, unplanned pregnancies and abortion. So I'm gonna put that on the screen there. Um, so Brenda says that's not even taking into consideration unplanned pregnancies and abortions. Yeah, that's not even. It's not. We need to do something about it. Abortion is a huge problem. Like, you got kids, and because they're having risky sex, obviously they're probably ending up pregnant too. And if they're ending up pregnant and hiding it, they end up aborting the kids. Kids having kids and aborting the kids. It's a lot of things to take into considerations here tonight. A lot of things. And yes, I'm talking about the Black community, but this is a universal thing for all communities. Okay. Yes, the Black community is widely affected, but we care about all kids, though. All right. We care about all kids, and we should care about all kids. All right. So, but I really want to see a bigger effort stepped up, as a person of color myself, for our children to be better tended to, because there's too much June bugging all over the damn place, too much uh TikToking, people waiting on the stimulus, and like, forgetting all about the kids, and we got like so many issues. People still like talking about what the hell Trump did, and like, come on, man, you got issues in your own house to worry about before we even worry about stuff that's happening on a national scale to freaking adults. Let's take care of these kids. Who's going to be taking care of us? Who the hell's going to take care of us if these kids are chaotic? Say what's going to happen to us when we're old? Okay, you think you're going to be able to run this shit forever? Especially some of you old heads, like you, like y'all, you only way out. You on your way out. It's a lot of you guys dying now. Like that's that. Who knows? Who knows what the hell is going to happen? But what we do know is that we need to get these kids prepared. They need to be prepared to take over. They need to be prepared to be in my seat, when it's time. I'll be damned if I send my kid to public school, when it starts back up, and somebody else's kid is not on task because like you won't take responsibility. We got to get it together. It's time to get it together, folks. It's about time to get it together. It's over with. It's time out for all this. Okay. All right. Enough of that. All right. Have a good night. Thank you guys for joining me. Remember, if I haven't said it already, you can follow the network on at Transform You Network. Check out many of our other great podcasts by going to transformupodcast.com. We got a brand new podcast and Cheap Mama Life. Very, very, very good family oriented and personal development and business oriented like podcast that you got to check out every Wednesday. It's a new episode. Check that. Make sure you check that out. Shout out to Brenda for all that she's doing. And if you want to listen to the show, other play, many other early episodes that I have done, you can do that by simply going on any of your favorite podcast apps and just searching the show name. And I thought this was going to come up, but it didn't. And this thing is acting. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. By the way, we have a YouTube channel. The Black Commentary Show has a YouTube channel that just launched. So it's pretty negative right now. This episode will be on the YouTube channel. It'll be uploaded tonight in its entirety. So do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel by searching the Black Commentary Show. It does help to further the message that you heard here tonight. We'll have more messages like this every Sunday. I'm going to try to do this every Sunday on a weekly basis. I'm getting back to my hosting abilities. Oh yeah, by the way, we have a Roku channel, the Transform You Media Network channel. All of my friends and myself included, and also our new documentary is on Roku. So my new documentary, right behind me, The Journey to Be a Black Podcast Mogul, is on there along with some other interviews and great stuff. So find us on Roku if you got a Roku stick by searching Transform You Media Network channel. And if you want to learn how to podcast, ask about podcast coaching and training. We got that for you. We'll hook you up. We'll get you doing what I do. You know, you can act crazy. You can act conservative. You can act liberal. Hey, I support independent voices with independent stories. I get you doing it the right way, though, so that you can have an engaging audience just like I do. And last but not least, follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram as well. But my Twitter, for the world to know, is @Marcus_Hart. My Instagram is in the episode description. If you're watching on Facebook, if you are not watching on Facebook, I'm just going to plug it right now. It's Marcus_Hart_official. Let's get it done. So until next time, as always, stay black, my people. Many blessings, peace, and lots of love.